Hey, so we're gonna go through how to set up and open up Adobe XD and go over some of the few basic tools like we did in the first day of class. So let's get started. I'm gonna go down to the dock. You probably can't see it on your screen, on the screen, and open up XD. Let's kind of pull that to the middle there. Cool. The first project we're doing is a regular website. This is a 19 by 20 standard kind of website size. Let's maybe pick one. Nah, that's pretty square. Let's go with that. Actually, let's see what this one looks like. That's pretty cool. A little more square. I'm not really concerned about the actual size in terms of pixels that your site is, but this is more about design and how the tools work. The first thing we looked at this week was how to use the pointer tool. That's over there. I'm going to play around with my cool little effects in here. Let's see, does that? No. No. What does that do? Oh, yeah. Okay. So the pointer tool right up here in the list, we're going to do that one first. That one basically can select and move around your page. If you grab the title of it, you can also move things around on the page. The next tool is the square tool. We're going to do a little bit of work with that one just to kind of show how that works. The square tool is this tool right here. We've got a few other shapes under here if you remember those. So let's do the square tool. One of the first things that you're going to do when you design a website is create a nav bar, and you'll probably use the rectangle tool for that. So I'm just going to kind of draw a rectangle up here, roughly where the navigation bar would be. And you see the shape. It's got a black outline and a white fill, which is the default setting for the rectangle tool, or the square tool, as some people call it. Another thing that you would use the square tool for is for buttons. So if you draw a rectangle shape, you can create a rectangular button like this. The other thing you can do, if you see these little round dots inside the corners, those are the corner curve tools or grabbers, anchors, whatever. If you grab one of those and kind of pull it in, it'll create your typical like pill shaped button or rounded corner button. So we're going to do a rounded corner button like that. That also works on all of the other shapes to create rounded corners. So now we got two different rectangles to work with, and one's a button, one's kind of like what a navigation bar would look like. And we're going to pull that down a little. The next thing are the other shape tools, and they're pretty obvious what they are. There's a circle tool, which we can draw up here, and if you hold the shift key, it will keep it a proportional circle. We'll just kind of pretend that that's the logo. And then this is the Polygon tool. It starts out as a basic triangle. Again, if you hold the shift key, it will all the sides will be equal. You can also change the amount of sides. Right now, if you look down here, you'll see that right now the polygon is selected as 3 sides. It has 0 rounded corners. And then this tool here actually turns a polygon into a star. We're going to just do a demonstration of how this works down here. So let's go in and type in, let's do 5, and we'll create a pentagram. 5. Hit return. We got a pentagram. All hail Satan. Pentagon, not a pentagram. We'll back up on the last thing I said. So that's the basic shape tools. They all kind of work the same way. The other thing we talked about is how to fill in these tools with colors and things. So the basic way to do it is you take your pointer tool up here, then you select the shape. Let's start with the navigation bar, and then you go down to these tools down here, which is the fill and the border. There's also a few other options as we move through the program. We'll get to use those. And what we'll do is we'll take that, and then we're going to get rid of the border by turning it off with a little click there. And then we're going to click on fill, and we're just randomly let's just make it a red color, so it's easy to see. The other thing I remember showing you was that if that's going to be one of your brand colors, or you're thinking about it is, you can click the little plus sign and it starts building a color palette for you. Maybe you want a blue one. We'll click the blue there, click the plus sign, you know, or let's do a green RGB sort of thing going on. I hate bright greens. There we go. That's a cool green. There we go. And then we'll just save it. So now if we click on this, and we can instantly go back to these colors. So let's keep it red. Maybe let's make that one blue, green. Let's make a yellow, kind of a mustard yellow there. And we'll add it to the list. I'm gonna get rid of the outline. Well, you know, let's make the outline bigger. We're gonna make this outline 3 pixels across, and then we're gonna make kind of a red outline around it so it kind of blends into the background. You can do the same thing with the buttons. You can fill them different colors, maybe do a kind of a gray color there, add it. I don't know what, oh, that's the border. Get rid of the border and do a fill. Fill it with a gray color, like a light gray like that, kind of a typical button color. Add it to the list, click off of it. You know, maybe we should add a border to it. Click the border, make the size like maybe 3 again. Return. Yeah, that's a nice button. And we're not going to really use the pentagon shape, so we'll just delete that. Okay, so that's the basic way shapes work. That's how colors work. The next thing we are going to look at is some different effects that you can do with these shapes, and also how to start building components and styles. So with this shape, like the circle, you know, lots of logos, sometimes they have a drop shadow underneath there's like these effects that you can do. You can click on drop shadow. It gives you a little, I'm going to scoop myself out of the way so you guys can see it. It gives you like the offsets of X and Y and the shading of it. Let's do like a 3 for the X, and I think the B, I think that's like how dark it is. Let's try 8. Does that make it darker or lighter? I always forget. Let's try 1. Oh, that's the blur. Okay, let's go back to 6. Drop shadow, let's, oh, okay, there it is. If you click on the color, we'll darken up the color a little bit. And there, we got a cool drop shadow. And again, you can actually, you know, create a shadow on the inside of the circle. And as we go through our designs, we'll play around with a little bit more of that. Often buttons have shadows as well, but let's try something else. So what we are going to do is, if you remember, we have all these things on the side here. The top one is the components. The second middle one, 2 little pieces of cheese stacked up on top of each other, are those are the layers. And the bottom one is plugins, which we will go over in the next lesson. And hopefully in this classroom, we can maybe add some of those to it. You definitely, they're great to use. They save so much time. But often the stuff in school, at least on the school computers, is blocks adding plugins. So let's see, we got our button, we got our shape. Okay, so how do you add components? Let's click on this circle here. Now, if you remember what I showed in class, if you click on the circle and you see this list here that says colors, if you click plus, it's going to tell you the outline and the fill color, and it'll add it to your style guide. That way, if you ever want to change something else, like this button down here, you can do it just by clicking on these rather than having to go all the way back over into the fill panel. We're going to undo that. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. There we go. Back to the gray. So we're going to drag this button. Whoa, I always do that. Sorry about that. If you hold the, if your page ever like scoots around, one of the shortcuts is holding your shift key to kind of, and then it gives you the little hand sliding tool. You can use that to scoot your page back into the frame. So if we click plus there, it's going to add the shading for the button. We already have the red, so we don't have to worry about it. So yeah, that's how you start creating your document assets, and how you also start creating like a style guide. They're often called design systems. We're going to next go to the text tool here, which is right down here on the screen. And we're going to make a little text block. You can put it on anywhere on the screen. We're going to put this in, I'm going to put this inside of the button. So we'll just call it, let's put click here. And it's in a gray color. If we drop it in there, it's really subtle, hard to see. We can go over here again, the fill, the border, everything works all the same way. We'll create a white by dragging that all the way to that corner. We might want the text to be a little bit bigger. What we're going to do is, the text works a little bit differently in XD, where this thing, the little handle to scale it is at the bottom of the text. So just grab that and kind of pull it over a little, scoot it up. There we go. That's pretty cool. You'll also notice XD has all these little marking things to help you center things, because the web stuff is really based on centering. We're going to take all of this and we're going to group this as one piece. We're going to drag what's called the marquee tool or the selection tool over the top. And then we will go to object group, which is also Command G. So group it. There we got a nice button. We got a logo. And we're going to make the logo actually have a word in it. My new sort of thing I'm doing is called bite-size design. If you didn't see the beginning, where is the text tool? Okay, it's white on white. Let's make it a color so we can see it. There we go. So let's just go. I'm gonna just put BS in there. How's that? And for some reason, BS. Oh, it's 2. Fill color. Actually, let's just make it red so we can see it. Let's make it a cool font. Let's find a very BS looking font. Find a nice fancy one. Real fat. I don't like that. No. I like one they called Oak. Oh, actually, I've been using Doorbuster Block. That's pretty good. So I'm going to select that, scale it down. It's like, oh, I want that to actually match that color. So we're just click that red on the side there, put it in front, and then we're going to group these together. That is Command G. Okay, cool. Let's see, where are we? We got our logo. So again, let's say we want to add these character styles to the document assets. If we click on this, click plus, it adds the Doorbuster font. It's not an Adobe. Oh, it says it's missing. I don't know why it's missing. It's showing up on the screen. Maybe it may be turned off somewhere in my controls or in my font management system. I will click this one as well. We'll click that. That one is not missing. It's an Adobe font. Okay, so those are the basic shapes. It's pretty easy. Some other cool things you can do with these are, let's say we select, let's create a big rectangle. Maybe we're going to put text in this later. And then let's fill this rectangle with the medium gray color. And let's look at some of the options that you can do. So if you click on it's fill to fill, you go to the fill tool here again. There's a little tiny list at the top here that says solid color. If you click on that, it gives you all these different options. We're going to go with linear gradient, and then it gives you this little slide bar here that says which, it's going from the light gray to a dark gray. And we will, you can't really add that to the list. Okay. But if you click on that and then go to the gradient, if you click on the shapes, the front or the end, it shows you what colors they are on the color map. And I think we want this to be, you know, maybe a dark red at the bottom. And then we'll go to the top and maybe make that a light red. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know what happens if we click the colors over here. Oh, it added the gradation. Look at that. So we'll be able to like use that gradation over and over again. I discover stuff new every day. Keeps life interesting. So we got our gradation here. Let's see, normal, darken. These are the blend colors. We'll get to that in a second. One other thing you can do, and we'll be going over this in class this week, is you can add photos. And let's see, I'm going to see if I can drag one of my dinosaur photos into here or something like that. I am back. Okay, so let's keep going. I found my photo file, so let's go add some photos to this. And we'll open up my teaching folder. We'll grab the dinosaur image. And I think we can just drag these in. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's drag that in. Yeah, it came in just fine. You can also cut and paste it in inside here. You can import it. I think there's under File or Edit. I'm sure there's an import tool somewhere. It would be surprising if Adobe didn't have one. Let's kind of get that photo. And we're going to make the photo really big. And it's scrolling out of the fold right now. And remember, I showed you guys how to change that. We'll get to that later. We're also going to push this behind everything else because we want that red square to be over the top of it. So let's go under Object and Arrange. In Adobe Illustrator, the Arrange is usually near the top. The same with Photoshop. We're going to go to Send to Back. And we've got our square over the top. Kind of scoot that down, scoot the photo up some. Let's kind of stretch this square to fill the bottom here. And then over to the right, there are the this thing here where it says normal. That's the transparency or the blending modes for shapes and objects and type. And you can adjust like these really kind of cool contrast effects with it. So what I'm going to do, the one I use a lot is multiply. And, that's actually really cool. And we're going to drag that red over the whole thing. And so now I actually could put some text over the top of this if I wanted to. And maybe I'm going to, again, arrange that and send that to the back as well. And I'm going to put the click here button. And then I have a plugin, and we'll get to that in a second, that does something called Lorem Ipsum. And Lorem Ipsum is just it's dummy copy. It's like this fake Greek copy. It was often called Greeking. It looks like Latin. I think it's just fake stuff. So that's, kind of a lot of the basics here. Let's look at a few more things you can do with the documents. One other thing you can do is you can also create something called a component. Components are basically reusable groups of items like a button or like a logo. Those are usually the main ones. I can't think of maybe a photo with a circle in it that's always the same size, and then you put that in and then you just update the photos inside the circle. But basically they're shapes, icons, logos that get used over and over and over. And what you would do to create one, just like the character styles and the colors, if you click on something that is grouped all together. Remember, that is where you go. You select, multiple items and then pick group from the list. If you click that and click component, it adds the component there. And like I said, it's really, really useful for buttons. So we're going to put that button in there. So now if we drag component off the screen, it has, and we can even delete the originals now because we've got the ones that are here. And so, if that logo was going to be on multiple pages, we can always put it in the same place on each page. You can also duplicate pages for that. So that is what components are. You'll hear components a lot. Components also, if you have any programming or rollovers or hover states or animation, components also store that as part of the grouped object. So they're really, really useful. Let's see, we've got the layout done. We've got a line on there. Let's turn that line off. Okay. Cool. That's a basic page layout. We're in the document assets thing. It's basically libraries of things that you can use. We will talk a little bit more about, I think I brought up libraries in the last class, but we'll talk a little bit more in depth in week 2 about how libraries work between all the different programs, between Illustrator, Photoshop, and XD. But we're going to shoot over now to the next thing down on here, which is, again, the 2 little pieces of cheese. This or maybe it's a sandwich. I am not sure. Anyway, we're going to go to that. That's the layers. And so if we click on layers, it gives us layers. Now, the layers are actually all the different shapes. If you see when I click on component 1, it shows me component 1. Component 1, we're going to call that logo. It's good to start naming things right at the beginning because, you get 100 things in this list and it starts becoming really, really difficult to remember what they are. This one, it's the navigation bar. We'll call that nav bar. Rectangle 3, color overlay. And that actually brought in the title of the photo. Navbar color overlay. Component 2 is the button. We'll call that main button. Okay, so that is how the layers work. And now if we were to add another shape, it becomes another layer. This is called ellipse 2. That was ellipse 1. We can also rearrange these different, I deleted that. We can rearrange these layers. So, let's say for some reason you do the logo first or you paste it in there first and it is behind the nav bar. You go like, oh man, how do I get that back? I did something. What did I do? So all you need to do is you need to just grab the little icon for the component and of the name of the thing. Oh yeah, look at that. Also, if you double click on it, it gets to sub layers, which are the individual pieces of the component. And you can actually use those to edit a little more advanced. But we can just drag that back up front and it's in front. The same with like this background color overlay. Let's say that was in front of the main button. Instead of using the arrange tool, in here, it's often easier to just drag these layers around, get them where you want them, and bam, you're right there. We're in layers. We are going to add a text block, and I think I'm going to show you how to use a plugin, and hopefully in class we can do this. So I'm going to draw just a bit. Oh wait, that might work. We're going to click here on the plugins at the bottom. Lorem ipsum, placeholder text. It did not work. Fail. That is because it actually works with a rectangle. It does not work with the text tool, surprisingly. So basically what you would do is switch over to plugins at the bottom here. Draw a rectangle here, and I've got all these really cool plugins. There's an icons one. The really great one is Photo Splash, icons, animations, everything. It's all these ones that I've added are free, except for I think one of them. No, they're all free. Oh no, Anima is not free, but that's going to be in a later class because that's for advanced prototyping, not basic prototyping. All right, let's see. Placeholder text. Fill with placeholder text. Let's see what happens. The lorem ipsum standard and punctuation mark, none. Yeah, let's do that. It's coming in pretty small. Gonna take the text tool, click on it, go over to the. Now that I'm on the text tool, if I go over here, there's a text dialog box. I'm gonna make some modifications to the text inside here. Let's see, you've got your spacing, or the type of text. Arial's good usually. There's sans serifs tend to be a little bit better for web text, but using serifs now, as long as they're not too small, is actually a little more elegant. So we keep that there. Generally, text should be, I would say, at least 12 pixels or points. Also, you know, it went over here. It's going to go back inside the box in a second. Regular is fine. We don't need any spacing. I actually like, okay, this is called leading in print. It's called line spacing in on the web. I love having a little bit more space between the lines. It makes the text feel not as dense. It makes it easier to read. And then this is like space after the paragraph, which actually does not exist on the web. It's really tricky to do that in CSS code. So I'm going to increase this to like 20. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then now if I click off of it, it's in the box. It's nice. You know, copy. I'm going to make a headline for this that says visit, if I could spell, visit Crystal Palace dinosaurs Hyde Park. And that there. Palace is spelled B-A. Need an extra A in there and a cap P. Visit Crystal Palace. Visit. And we'll just leave it at that. And I'm going to use my selector tool, drag across it, find a cool font for it. I think I'm going to use a nice, man, kind of nice serif font. Oaks is not on. Oh, let's just use one of the default ones that's based in here. Abril, where are you? My good friend Abril. And then we'll bump up the size to maybe like 30. Let's see what 30 looks like. Let's do 50. Yeah. Gonna have to do a hard break. Normally you'd be using a block or something. I'm also going to change the line spacing to 50 to start with, not 500. Getting a little ahead of myself. 50 over, that's not too bad. Cool. And you know, you got a basic page set up here. It looks pretty good. I think the one other thing that I went over in class was how to expand this page, how to duplicate the page to make another page, how to create a new page. So let's look at how to expand the page. In expanding the page, you need to be on the main page and select the title of the page, which we're going to call this home. Change the name of it. You just double click on it. You can rename it. You could share the page with someone else. We're going to call it home. And then if we click on home, we can actually grab this little selector down here, drag it down, and as far as we need it to go to fit everything. I'm going to click on the space bar again to kind of scoot my page down with the hand tool so I can see where I am. And that is how we actually create a page. And that is, this little dash line is called the fold. That is the bottom of your screen. So when someone logs in, they're only going to see this area to start with. So you get your hero image, your main text, your logo, your navbar. Now, what we might want to do now is kind of zoom out and start adding some more pages, because we're going to start, we're thinking about adding, this is not going to be a one-page website. It's going to be a million pages. And if you go through all a million pages, you get 100 tacos at the end. So I think if we hold the Option key, yeah, just like all the other Adobe programs. So if you select the magnifier tool, hold the Option key, or sometimes if you drag, if you drag in a certain direction, it does it. I also did a shortcut there that like zapped it into full screen. You have a couple places you can change the size of the screen. Up in this corner, so we're going to start here. Up in this corner, it tells you what percent the size the screen is at, and you can, we were at 100 before. Let's pull it back up to 100. We're going to take the hand. Oh no, we weren't at 100. Maybe we're like at 75 or something like that. 50. We weren't even at 50. But anyway, you can control it there. You can also control it with the magnifier. And then if you have the magnifier selected and you hold the Option key, you can click out. And then you can also use, there's a few keyboard shortcuts. So the one I always use is a go-to is a Command 0, and that like basically zooms everything that you can see all in the workspace. So that is how you zoom in and out of pages. Now we're going to talk a little bit about creating multiple pages. So one thing you can do to create a multiple page, let's say, the navigation is going to always be the same. Some of these other things might change, is you can actually select the title of the page, start dragging it, hold the Option key, and it will make a duplicate. And if you hold the Shift key, like I was going to say, it'll drag it straight over, but it's pretty easy to line up. So now we got two things, and we might name this like about. We'll use the hand tool to kind of scoot over. We might change a few things on here. But we're basically duplicating the page over and over. Another way to do it is, can you copy and paste? Command C, Command V. No, that just does the stuff on the page. That makes sense. Oh, and then there's also this tool here underneath the Type tool, which is the Artboard tool. That is used to create primarily new pages that are different sizes. So we click on the Artboard tool. You can create like a mobile page size if you have a custom one. You could use also this page to put a bunch of elements you're working on to kind of test things out, sort of like a scratch pad or notepad. You can also create a new page with where is that? Layers, components. Oh, there you go. If you click on the Artboard page, this menu to the side here comes up. It gives you all these different sizes to choose from. And we had created the web page down here already. So, let's say we want a phone. If we, the iPhone 13, 12, if we click that, it adds a phone. And again, you can take your pointer tool. I kind of like working with the phones before the other stuff. I'm going to put my phone over here and move my scratch pad. I'm going to move my scratch pad just up here for now. Move the phone in here. Get the spacing up to the top. There we go. And that's basically organizing things. And then again, the zoom out is a Command 0. I think that's basically what we went over in class. I know we did color swatches, and we will be doing that again this week. Also, this week we're going to go over a navigation bar and creating a navigation bar. We may get into starting to create some of the interactions between the pages, but I really, really want you guys to focus on coming up with a solid design for the page first, and then we'll go in and add all of these things called the auto animations, the hover states, all like the cool jazz hand effects that are available in XD. So I think that's it for now. I might come back with a couple little add-ons before the next class, but this is kind of get you up to speed if you forgot things, or if you're kind of thinking about it, or if you need a refresher. So have a good week, and I will see you guys Thursday.